welcome. You're not welcome. Okay, you are welcome.
Do I have to hire a new sound person or something?
You know it. Well, welcome, you guys. This is Brad, and I have a special guest today to the Main Stage Music live stream. We have, we also have a really cool title screen still on, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And, but no, we have a special treat for you today. This is a week where we would demonstrate new products. So I couldn't think of a better person to bring on than the infamous.
Yes, infamous
Chad Rigler. Now, Chad is with a company called HWP Co., and they are a rep firm, a factory representative firm of all the best pro audio equipment. And naturally, Main Stage is one of their accounts.
Yep.
Because we carry all the best stuff, right? So we are talking. So we are talking about some really cool new products. That now, of course, everybody, when a new product comes out, it's the latest, it's greatest, it's the coolest, or whatever. But these really do fit a special segment of the marketplace that has not been, serviced before. So the products are, and we're actually going to be talking about 3 products today. Okay.
Well, we're going to talk about one series of products, and then we're going to talk about 2 other products when we get to the end of actually discussing these.
Absolutely.
Guys right
and we are actually using the products in today's show. So this is you're actually getting to hear and see the stuff as we talk about it.
Yep.
So first of all, I encourage you guys, if you don't already follow us on YouTube, go over to YouTube, click subscribe. Otherwise, the other thing I want to let you know is we want your questions. If you have any questions or comments or whatever, feel free to let us know, and we will answer them to the best of our ability right here live on the air. Man, look at how shadowy I look.
Oh, you look great.
I know. I am the shadow.
Yes.
So, what are the products that we're talking about today? Well, we are a dealer for the Allan and Heath line of mixers. Allan and Heath is a storied company. It's a British company.
Correct.
And they make consoles. Okay, that's what Allan and Heath makes. So they have, for a long time, made these famous recording consoles, and then later slid over to make just the most famous live mixing consoles on the marketplace. So with the advent or integration of digital mixing, they came out with still some of the most incredible pieces, the Avantis line and the SQ line and QU line and so on. So this is the latest iteration of their line. They call it the CQ. Now, what does CQ stand for?
So that's up for debate, right? And so
I've got my guess.
Okay, you can go ahead and guess.
I guess it's for the compact Q.
That's what everybody says, but we haven't gotten a definitive answer on that. Let's just put it this way. We have the SQ, we have the QU, CQ, compact Q. Hey, I agree with you, but I'm not...
Well, I mean, that's
say yay or nay on that, but it's a great name.
Well, it's a great name. It's easy to remember.
Yep.
So, now you might think when it comes to digital mixers, some people go, oh boy, I understand the importance of a digital mixer. So all those racks of outboard equipment, so equalizers, RTAs, effects units, so on and so forth, you don't have to haul those anymore because now they can all be tightly packed into a smaller piece of gear. Kind of like the way a cell phone has a Walkman, a camera, a camcorder, and a phone all in one box.
And a mailing service.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly. A computer, you can check your email. And
text message, like my wife just messaged me, and I'm not... sorry, honey, I'll message you later.
So these things are all packed into cell phones. So this is just kind of makes sense that with mixers, they would eventually do the same. And, of course, they've done it some years ago. You can hear the Chattanooga choo-choo going by there.
There we go. Yeah.
So anyways, so with these... they were always in larger format consoles, and for the most part, I have to say, it's still that way. The big heavy lifters you guys might have heard of, like the X32 or the SQ or the QU boards, they're usually in these bigger frame consoles and most of them start at around the $3,000 price point. So I can understand where a lot of people are still a little like, I'd like a digital mixer, but we just have maybe we're just using it in our school gym. Or we have a small country church where we only have maybe, 8 to 10 inputs of stuff. Or our band, we've got just a 3 or 4 man band, and we don't like we don't have a sound man. We don't want to have to worry about all that stuff. I get it, because guess what? I'm all 3 of those guys. I have a business. I go to a church that doesn't have a huge band on stage, and I have a small band myself. It's just 3 men, and so it's like you don't need this huge thing. So those $2,000-$3,000 mixers are challenging because, oh my goodness, they really do need a guy just on staff to run them. So Allan and Heath and other companies, but Allan and Heath I think is the first one to market, okay, has come out now with this CQ. Now, go ahead and let's show a range. Here, let's go back to the full table.
Yeah.
Do the full table.
So
they are coming out with 3 different models here.
Do you want me to take
Yeah,
this?
go ahead.
Yeah, okay, because you talk a lot.
Well,
and I love to listen to you, Brad, but let me do this.
I like the break. Yeah.
So anyways, we do have 3 different lines, or 3 different model numbers when it comes to the CQ line. We're going to start with the CQ12. T stands for tabletop. This guy has got 12 ends and so many dedicated outs. You got USB recording, all that kind of stuff. The main difference between this guy and the other ones, it doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi. So you would actually have to connect like a router to this guy, and you'll be able to get Wi-Fi with it. Next up in the line is we've got the 20B. So the 20B is essentially like a breakout box. You put it on the stage, or you can get the rack unit for it and rack it. This guy is going to actually run straight from the MixPad app itself. So you can download the MixPad app for Android or iOS. And we just came out with the CQ-U, which is a version for anybody who wants to do their own monitor mix. I know
excellent.
We talked about that the other day.
So
that just came out, so you can utilize that as well with it. Then we have the flagship, which is going to be the 18T. So the 18T has got your built-in Wi-Fi. You've got your SD recording slot. You've got your, if you wanted to, password protect and use a different router, you could plug a different router in there and use that. It's got another USB-C, so if you wanted to send it straight to a DAW, you could do that as well, and another USB if you wanted to, like plug in a USB stick for playback or whatever. All 3 of them also have Bluetooth connectivity, so you can actually run Bluetooth through it. A real good example of it is I took this guy this weekend. My son did a karaoke show, and we set the Bluetooth up for one channel. It's got its own volume for the Bluetooth, so in between, karaoke stuff, he was throwing in music through the Bluetooth, kept the party going. It worked out really well. It was a surefire hit.
Excellent.
And it takes up less space because we just threw it right under the table. So those are our 3 different flavors. Now, price point wise with these guys, we'll get to in a little bit, but just understand there's really nobody else in the market that's doing what we're doing with these guys. Okay. Bit of history, and I was going to throw this in a little bit earlier. Did you know that there's nobody in the company that's named Allan or Heath?
Oh.
Right? Did you know that?
No, I
So
did not.
back, Allan and Heath turned 50 a couple years ago. When the company started, they were a couple of guys who were making a mixing console for Pink Floyd. And they said, we got to figure out a name for the business. And in England, it is tough to actually do all the paperwork and the red tape. So they went to a local bar. Now, this is a story I've heard, and it's been passed down
Hey,
from
if it was
the
at a
guys
bar,
at Allan
though,
and
I was
Heath.
going to say, nobody
So
lies
they're
at
sitting
a
there,
bar.
and they found out that if you actually found a defunct business that wasn't working anymore, in business anymore, you could actually assume that name and not have to go through all the legal process.
Huh.
So during World War II, there was a manufacturing company, a steel mill called Allan and Heath, and they went and use that name.
No way.
Yep.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it's super cool because we come out with super cool product.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But that's a neat story too.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that. Whenever I am looking at a new product that comes out, I like to think about actual customer applications. So like, who are the guys that are actually going to buy these models? And one thing that Chad is hitting the high points here. I kind of look at it as a couple of features that I want to share with you. This guy right here doesn't have any way of controlling it. The one on the far, it doesn't have any way of controlling it other than using an iPad, okay, or a laptop.
Or Android, yeah.
Yeah, so the thing is that if your application, let's say it's a church or a band or something like that, doesn't have either, if you don't want to buy that extra piece of gear, that's not the one you get, okay? Don't get that one. If you let's say you have a member of your church or band that has an iPad, and so, well, as long as Bill shows up, still don't get that one, because don't depend on Bill, who might not show up, okay? So this one does not work without the computer, so don't get it if you don't have that available.
That is correct.
So let's say for a school, for example, I would never recommend that for a school, because there's always going to be some guy who's in the IT department or something like that who is, call Jim in IT, he'll be the guy. Okay, you can't depend on that guy if there's some school play or something like that. So now these other two models, what's really neat about them is you do not need anything to run them, okay? They have a touch screen. That's one thing that wasn't talked about. So the screen itself, you just touch where you want, and it can control, what's going on, okay? So very neat. So it works just like your phone would. We're already so used to touching, and it's a nice full color screen, as you can see from the image there.
7-inch screen.
Yeah, so it's big, and so with it, all the controls are very intuitive. So you could see when he was toggling through there. Go back there, by the way. It looks just like a mixer. Yep. So as you can see there, if you have faders.
So if I go into one fader just like I did, I can go in here and control what's going on with that fader.
So equalization,
right?
or...
Exactly. Now it's hard to, being back up here, hit that X, but I can X out of it. You got your volume, which, that's your main volume. You can do whatever you want with it. So it's a bit different here. We do have the iPad.
Now that's where, this is,
up,
let's do that.
Then you can actually see a real representation.
So we're going to put on the
screen.
screen here what the iPad app actually looks like. Okay, so now if you do have an iPad and connect to the mixer, now you can be walking around, and again, the range is just like the range of your Wi-Fi at home.
Exactly.
So let's just say 40, 50 feet comfortably.
2.4 to 5 gigahertz.
And so it just we all have Wi-Fi in our homes. So, if you put it downstairs by the TV or whatever, the bedroom that's farthest away is the one that's always going to be a little spotty.
Yeah.
So just know it's about 40 feet or so comfortably. But the iPad makes it so much easier to move stuff around, have a guy stand in the audience to hear things, to make adjustments. So this is a really great way of controlling it. But the key is that with this unit, because of the touch screen, you do not need a computer in order to run this.
No, you don't. Now, here's one thing I want to show you, since I'm already in this screen. You guys are looking at it. If you want to pop that right back up real quick. You guys are going to see in here the gain assistant. So we utilized this over the weekend, and literally when you get your mic on, you're on this channel, and you hit on, and then you go right here, you'll notice it's listening, right? And while it's listening, it's going to pick up the gain on that microphone and put you at the right point where you need to be. Of course, it's not pulling it up right here, as you can see, because we don't have a microphone hooked up to it right now. But that is a great feature that this thing does have with it, as well as when you get into the fader part, and if you want to go in and, mute or go headphones and listen. It's got 2 headphone jacks out on the front of this guy. Or if you want to mute your guy right here. Sorry, this is goofy. There we go. You want to mute it, you can mute it. You want to get into the effects screen. Literally, we can go boom right here, and I can click on this guy, and I can utilize. Let me do that again. Come over here. Let's say I want to pick this reverb. It's not let me make the adjustments there.
But still, it's easy to grab and go and so on.
Exactly. So there's the different effects and stuff like that. Then you can go to the home page. You can look at your data, which we don't have any data in it right now.
Okay, so data, though, would be things like...
If you have a USB stick in there and your USB drive and stuff like that.
So here's what that means. Let's say that you had a band that was fixing to play. You don't, and you got a crowd of people standing there. You don't want dead silence. You want to have some music playing. So what he's saying is you get a USB stick or a SD card, and you load it up with your favorite MP3s. So that you have some music playing just so people, when they're coming in, it sounds nice.
Yep.
Or if you're a church, have some nice, just easy-going, soothing sounds when people walk in. It sounds nice.
Exactly.
And you can just hit shuffle right there, and it's just going. So
you can do that, or you can do the Bluetooth as well, whichever one you prefer. Then you can go into scenes. You can save up to 100 different scenes.
Now, what a scene is, just so you know, for people who aren't initiated, scenes are, let's say you were a band that played... I don't know, 100 different clubs, okay? One club had carpeting on the walls, and it really sounded muffly, so your EQ was all set up brighter.
Exactly.
Let's say another place was really tile on the walls, and so everything you set up a little darker. So, I mean, the point is what he's talking about these are preset settings for your group or band or whatever. In a church, here's where people ask me all the time. They go, well, we have our normal Sunday morning service at 9 a.m., but then at noon, we have a Hispanic service. And then at 2 o'clock, we have a youth service, more rocked up.
Yep.
And then we have an evening service. So those scenes can be preset settings and levels that you don't have to have a guy come in and redo the sound. You just go in there and recall a setting. One button, it's saved. You don't have to mess with it.
Yep.
It's so cool.
Makes it super easy and intuitive. It's just really cool. So let's finish off just going through the functionality. What you see here is what you're also going to see on the screen itself, as far as on the 18T or the 12T. You can go into record mode. You can do different things with record, okay? We can go over here. Let me go to configure. And then we can go right here. If you've got Bluetooth set up, so literally, if you want to make this discoverable, I'm hitting discoverable right now. I'm pulling up my phone. And let's see if this guy pulls up. It pulls up right here. I'm pulling it on my phone. I'm pairing it.
See, look at that.
And you're going to see I am paired up to it. And it's going to show my phone right there. And I can go in and I can start playing music through it.
Now, here's what's cool about that. Okay, if you guys have ever DJ'd a wedding, it doesn't matter how much stuff you've got. There's always some bridesmaid who comes running up with her phone and says, if I could just get this one song, Well, boom, right there. You don't have to worry about, well, I've got an 1/8 inch. Well, I don't have that on my phone. It's like, oh, my, just Bluetooth it. It's a great way to get it in there. And
it's actually good sound quality. Like I said, we used it this past weekend. Sounded amazing. Did really well. On the fader, as you guys can see right there, that's to control the Bluetooth. The signal that's going in there, you got full control of this guy. So guys, there is, and I'm going to tell you right now, my son is not a genius when it comes to audio stuff. He's great at karaoke. He understands that world. But when it comes to audio, he picked this thing up in 15 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So it is a simple, easy way to get introduced to digital mixing as well as using the app.
So, I mean, and of course, with Allan and Heath quality, it's really good. Now, I mean, I know I sound like a home shopping network, but really what we're trying to show you guys is that, we carry all the best brands, okay? I would love to get you into, a nice Yamaha TF rig or a Allan and Heath SQ or what that are thousands of dollars. But if you don't need 40 channels or what, you don't need to spend money on stuff that you won't use. It's just foolish. Don't waste your money on that. Heck, I'd rather you spend less money on a mixer that suits your needs and more money on maybe some good in-ear monitors for the performers or something like that.
But I'm okay if you sell an SQ.
Yeah.
So let's. One thing I want to dive in, and I didn't mention it before. SQ, Avantis, D-Live. They have what's called an FPGA chip. It's a field programmable gate array chip.
That's what
allows it to do 96K, right? So D-Live, if you're not aware, that is our flagship big boy consoles.
That's what you see running Clapton and stuff, yeah.
Okay. Then you go down to the Avantis, which is right now blowing up in a lot of house of worship. A lot of people are bringing that guy on. And then SQ is also filling that spot too. These guys have the same chip in them as those
It's the same mixer processing power is what he's saying.
Exactly.
But it's just smaller and more compact for everyday use.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, again, here's the best part. Okay, so the cost of like an inexpensive sold, sent me an open mic package, must include Clyde. Chad, I think, is what he's talking about. But I'll tell you, so my friend Justin owns a bar that does live music in Wisconsin. It's called Zena's.
Okay.
I've played there. It is a hopping place, and he does a lot of great live bands. He does a karaoke night. He does, I mean, like any good bar should, right?
Yep.
Keeps people engaged.
Yep.
So, Justin, what's cool about this is you can keep this right at your bar. You do not have to share this with these guys, okay? You can run a little analog snake, which you might already have, and you can find those things used all over the place, and run it back behind where your gaming machines are and stuff, and tuck it away. When you have live music time, you swing it down. They plug right in. You can be behind your bar listening to where their sound is and adjusting it touch screen. You don't need your phone or iPad. You can Bluetooth your phone to it, throw up your favorite Spotify playlist for when they're setting up, so there's sound going in there. People are getting warmed up to it. I will also tell you, looking at this, the pictures look good, but these things are built like a brick outhouse. I mean, these are heavy duty. Yeah, they're not sliding around. It's not some cheapo Temu plastic piece of crap.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a nice, heavy piece of gear that's moving. You know, the other nice thing about digital is there's very few moving parts. Okay, now you don't think about it, but moving parts are where things start, get dust in them, you crackle, they have all these problems. With digital, you don't have those issues. It's a lot cleaner. Okay, so here's where it gets good. So if you were to get, now, realistically, let's look here. You got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. You got 16 real inputs on this guy.
And then 2 stereo.
And you got 10 real XLR inputs here.
And
the
2
other
stereo.
The 2 stereo that he's talking about would be like hooking up a keyboard, maybe a hard CD player or something like that.
Where the 20 is 18 with another 2 stereo.
Yeah. But the actual snake inputs you're going to have is 10, 16, and so on. So with something like this right here, this would do 99% of the bands in Chattanooga.
Probably.
Yeah.
I
mean, if you don't have a horn section or some
don't,
prima donna drummer that needs every tom mic'd, this right here is going to handle most of. And so, and same with these other guys, they're really going to handle everything you need. So this guy, if you don't really need the Wi-Fi, what's the Wi-Fi for? Walking around with your iPad.
Yep.
If you don't need that, buy this one. This is a killer mixer.
Unless somebody wants to control their in-ears, then
this one right here would be your next guy up with the Wi-Fi built in. You can always add the Wi-Fi to this. This one has it built in.
Yes.
Plus an extra 6 XLR inputs right off the bat. That's a big deal to me. The best part is the price. So
let me give the prices on this, okay? So we're going to start off with this guy's $899.
Yeah, so $900. Now do the math on that. You can't buy a analog. So first of all, it'd be that big.
Yeah.
Okay. With all those inputs for, well, it'd probably be about that same amount. The closest would probably be a Yamaha MG20, and those are $699.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't think it gives you that many
you
XLR
don't have the
inputs.
Controllability. And all
it's
that
not
kind
digital.
of stuff.
It's analog.
And you can't do Bluetooth, that type of thing.
No. So
right. 12T, $999. And then last but not least, and I misquoted earlier, this is $11.99, not $10.99.
So here's the
$11.99 for him.
I did also misspeak. Okay, there was a product that came before this that was similar to this. It was made by QSC. It was called the Touch Mix.
Yes.
But the Touch Mix, I want to say, was a little premature to the market. They literally cost twice as much money as these. They were $2,500 for this and didn't have half the features that they have.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, I mean, QSC is they're a killer brand. Okay, I'm not knocking QSC. We love it. Okay, but this is a completely different product. These are priced for less than some of the just console style mixers that you have to use an iPad only, like the Soundcraft UI-24, albeit it has a few channels less and whatever, but it's priced less than that. And honestly, it's priced right in par with the Mackie stuff of similar input, but it has the touch screen, which the Mackies do not. Again, this is a really smart product. Now, first of all, we are Mainstage dealers for the CQ stuff. The first run's already sold through. Okay.
Yep.
There's more coming.
We'll
It's a new
let you know
thing.
On ETAs. It's brand new.
It's brand new.
It's always changing.
The first shipment's always vapor, but these are less than a average price of a laptop. Okay, this is one of those products where if you have really in our area, the biggest market would be small to mid-sized churches and bands, both of which might as well be the same customer, because neither of them want to have one guy sent to school to learn how to learn or use something. They don't want to buy extra stuff for it.
Yep.
But if they have extra stuff, it's nice to know that it'll work with it. This right here does everything for $11.99. It's a killer thing. I mean, it's just a killer deal.
Guys, I've been doing this a long time, and this gave me goosebumps when I first heard it was coming out, and then just to put your hands on it and actually feel them in action and hear them in action. I know a lot of people are going to say, yeah, but everybody, it sounds the same. No, it doesn't sound the same. And when you have 96K going through your speakers,
real high
even if they're $499 speakers, it still sounds great.
Yeah, you're going to hear the difference.
It sounds extraordinary, is what I'm telling you. It's a great compliment to the lineup for retail.
So, I mean, it is a very cool. There's a couple of other things that we didn't talk about. One that is a big deal for churches, less of a deal for bands, but it could be helpful if you're actually a diligent band. Yep. And that it has an SD card input on it. Now, what that's for is recording. So you just drop an SD card in there. Now, you might ask, well, I got a Behringer, whatever, it's got a thumb drive. Okay, that's great. That's great. But what's funny is that a SD card is the same kind of, it has a thumb drive and SD, you can choose. But with an SD card, it's very mobile. It's inexpensive. People have them for their digital cameras at home. So that's a neat feature because you can record your service, or in a band setting, you can record your practice.
Yep.
Okay. And you can just pop it in and email people stuff immediately.
Yeah.
It's super easy for people. So I like that feature. Additionally, where the X32 and a lot of these other consoles don't include that.
Yeah. So I have a buddy in Florida. When these came out, he called me and he's like, Jonathan, love you, man. I'm so glad you reached out. He's like, tell me all about them. I've read everything. What else do I need to know? And we talked for probably 45 minutes to an hour. He picked up this guy and called me while he's at Walmart saying, which Android tablet should I get? My iPad's not working. It's like, dude, just pick something up. It's going to work.
Yeah.
And then
I always choose Apple because everything Apple makes is just,
Yeah, but then he calls me back again. He says, I ran it through my Newman. I ran my Newman through it. I ran as much stuff and recorded straight to the SD. And he just started laughing. He's like, it blew my mind. And he does like different venues down in South Florida, like, providing PA and mixing for these guys. So
I saw that. Yeah. So Justin, yes, it does record. So whatever you have plugged into this, you pop, and how you have it mixed is exactly what gets recorded on that card. Now here's where it gets tricky. Okay. Can you record a whole set? Hell yeah. I mean, you can get 128 gig now on a little.
Just be careful the SD cards are fine, but the USB stuff, be careful. You
buy
go to
name
Staples
brand.
And buy one.
Don't buy some plastic. Get a SanDisk brand. Get something that's stable.
Yep.
But you can get a thumb drive or a SD card that has just 100 gig or more. You don't need that much, but I'm just saying. And yes, hell yes, it'll record a whole set. You could record multiple sets, multiple shows. Now, the beauty is here's where it gets tricky. Because, again, with Justin, he has a live music venue. Mm-hmm. So you might be mixing it for the room.
Yep.
Which means the drums you probably got very low because they're already loud. Or you maybe don't even have a mic on them at all. And the vocals are going to be real hot, kind of like this live stream studio is, right?
Yep.
So if you record it, just experiment a little bit. You'll probably notice that the vocals and guitars are really hot. And man, I'm not getting much bass or drums. That's because in the room, it was plenty loud enough just having the amps and whatever run. And so you didn't have it piped through the system.
Yeah.
But just know that you can also, how do I say this? You can mix things for recording and not run it out of the main outs. I mean, it gets a little weird, but you can actually set up your mixes in a different way for the bass and drums if you want them. Again, that's kind of a level 2 class, but in reality, though, you can Yes, it records. You can do
Yep.
it. Absolutely.
Plus, if you guys saw me, I pulled out the USB right here, which you can USB straight into your computer. If you want to use your computer, your DAW on there, and you want to record that way, you can. Other things that this can be used for, guys who do podcasts with microphones like we have. This is a prime example of something that you can use in podcasts if you want to record that podcast.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
point.
It's limitless of what you can do with these guys. So it's not just for the band guys or the small church guys. There's a whole world out there of podcasts and stuff like that, and people, doing stuff live like here. Maybe Brad will get one. Who knows? Maybe he'll try it on his show. We will see.
So Justin's asking, now, when you recording, it does not track separate, okay? It's recording a stereo mix. So remixing it, no. All you're going to have is a stereo left-right mix. You're not going to be able to bring up the bass or
unless
drums.
you use the USB for the DAW.
Yeah, no, what he's talking about DAW, you have to have a laptop set up
with like Pro Tools or something
exactly,
like that.
One of those set up, and then you can track separate doing that. But as far as the SD card, no, it's just going to do a stereo mix. It's and yes, just wave. Records to wave.
Yeah, you get essentially wave, and then you can save it to whatever you want to
exactly,
save it to.
Right. So, but wave is kind of the industry standard for that. And yeah, karaoke, that's a really smart idea. Have a karaoke night and then say, hey, do you want a copy of your performance?
Justin, it sounds great for karaoke. Just telling you, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you.
Because you Bluetooth in.
Yep.
You don't even have to Bluetooth in if you're doing a recorded karaoke, because where you're going to have it set at the bar behind the counter, just pipe it in with a cable. You're fine.
Yeah, there's like a software called Carafun. It's a karaoke software, and you have access to it. Yeah, I mean, that's super easy to use. And you just HDMI out of your computer straight to, the screens where people can see it, and you go.
It's super easy, man. You bring a laptop and and a couple powered speakers, you're done.
Exactly.
And then the thing is, you can make a little extra money, or at least bring more people into your bar, because people will say, oh, dude, and then he gave me a copy of my recording, or put it up on YouTube or something like that. Or
emailed it to me.
Dude. I mean, I can already see the wheels can be turning here, and you could even have like online karaoke contests. I mean, there's so many things you could do with that.
Yeah.
Where you can monetize this kind of stuff.
I can already hear him now going, oh my gosh, I got so many ideas.
No, I mean, there's no loss with a laptop.
Yep.
You're fine.
Yep.
No, this is a very cool setup. And of course, the thing we don't sell. Now that Behringer's gone, we don't sell anything that's of questionable quality, okay? Behringer, they're not in music stores anymore. If you want that, you have to go to Temu or Amazon, okay? We sell quality stuff, and this right here represents clean, professional-grade stuff for less money than that, brand is selling. So get the real deal. This stuff is really killer. Okay, so now I know we're kind of been rambling on
Getting
about
short on time.
I know we're so the other thing that has been the hot thing. Now, of course, Chad works for HWP Co. HWP Co. is the Shure factory rep, and Shure is a sponsor of our show.
Yes.
And of course, we're very happy that they are sponsoring the show, and they're killer and so on. You hear a Shure microphone every time you tune in. So the mic I use is called the MV7 for people who've asked, and we've sold a few of them. It's a popular podcasting mic, but the industry standard, the model that's been for radio broadcast and some, I would say in recent years, the last 10, 15 years, you've been seeing it for live more, is called the SM7B.
Correct.
Now, the SM7B is kind of a big, bulky microphone with a yoke. It looks very similar to this, a little bit longer.
You mean like this
Looks kind of like that.
Kind of like this right here?
So anyways, the SM7B, the first place I ever heard of it being used was it tracked all the vocals for Michael Jackson's Thriller album.
Correct.
Okay? So arguably the largest selling album of all time, the vocals were recorded on that.
And it's also part of the nation's largest podcast, most listened to podcast.
Joe Rogan. Yep.
Also,
if you watch any big podcast, you've seen an SM7B. Now, here's the sucky part about SM7B. It's a fairly low gain microphone. It's $400 by itself, and then you had to buy this $100 and some odd thing called a cloud lifter, which was basically just a preamp that boosted the level so that it would make sense plugging it into your live streaming stuff. Okay, because in a recording studio like where Thriller was recorded, no problem, they've got preamps. But in your average live stream studio, they don't have that junk. So you had to buy this box that costs another. So now you're talking about $500-$600.
What if we added it to it?
Who'd have thunk? So now this is freshly
just released.
Yep.
SM7DB, everybody.
So you
this
guys,
is the mic that I'm using right here.
Yep. So basically, this is something that has been years in the making, and so they finally came. So it's the same SM7B. There's really no change to the mic itself. All they've done is teamed up with the guys at Cloud to put that circuit in the mic.
So this is a made preamp by Shure, with licensing from Cloud to utilize it. And if you guys can see the back of it here, we have a couple more dip switches than usual. We have a plus 18 dB or plus 28 dB on there, and then you've got your other ones that's typical with the other SM7Bs to slope it or whatever you want to do. But it is a SM7B, but it's got the built-in preamp now. And it's a two-stage preamp. It's phenomenal. You've been hearing me on it all night.
Yep.
Give me a thumbs up on there if I sound good, guys. Because I can't hear it.
And here's the thing I was kind of curious of. And of course, for the people who may watch this after the fact, we know that most of you guys watch the show after it's already been done. But I want you to tell me which you thought sounded better. Did the MV7 sound better at literally half the price, or did the SM7B sound better?
Challenge accepted. And we both win.
But I'll tell you, it's like I have to tell you, I've got both microphones. They're both wonderful. But you know, it to me, it definitely feels like the difference between a 7-year and a 10-year bourbon, where it almost takes a really trained palate to...
Now you're speaking my language.
To be like, I can taste the new... Because let me tell you, this this MV7 is an amazing microphone. You guys, as I said, you guys listen to it every week. And
did you know that... I know everybody's got this Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing going on, but Travis and his brother do a podcast, and they use the MV7s on the podcast. I mean, you just note that these guys are used everywhere.
No, they're killer.
These guys are going to be used everywhere. The SM7B is being used everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, so it's like these are great products. But I mean, we've had some people come in and they honestly get this idea that, well, I watch a podcast that has 100 million people who watch it every week. I must get the same microphone.
Yep.
Just know that, dude, an MV7 is a legit piece. Okay, so what do you got?
I was just having it. There was a glare on the box.
Oh, glare on the box. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can see it
there.
there.
Good. I'll just go like that. There we go. Just so everybody can see it. I'm excited about this guy.
Okay. Will it run... Can I still run that to a powered amplifier? Well, of course, this is an unpowered mixer, Justin. So what you're going to do is you're going to run the outputs here to either a power amplifier, then to power or unpowered speakers, or what most people these days do, they run the left and right output just to 2 powered speakers, and you're done. You know, and of course, I mean, we've got all the best powered speakers. I mean, whether you get Mackeys or whatever, but in your case, because you have a smaller room, I would highly recommend getting a smaller size speaker, because smaller size speakers are more helpful for reducing feedback. If you get a big speaker like a 12 or a 15 in the size club that you have, you're going to get a lot of rumble and you're going to get a lot of feedback. You'll be battling. You don't need it. I would recommend an 8 or a 10 at the most for your place. I mean, when I played there, I was using my HK stuff. Those were 3s. I was using literally 8 3-inch speakers. So no, and it sounded amazing. It filled it, you could hear it in the streets. So no, you don't need a big heavy speaker. This right here, a couple of Yamaha DXR 8s,
Yep.
Sally bar the door. I mean, you'd be on like Donkey Kong.
I would
awesome.
recommend like EAW RSXA, or
Yeah,
something
I mean,
like
if
that.
as long as you got that checkbook out, right?
Just saying.
Chad is also, HW Pico is the factory rep for EAW, which we are EAW dealers.
Correct.
But EAW, just so you know, they start off at a very, very welcoming price to anyone. But then it just takes some pretty tall steps after that.
It does, but we also announced a new line, the LS line. I think I talked to you about this before, that it was coming. The LS 121, 123, the 151, 153, as you can tell, one's got a 1-inch voice coil, the other one's got a 3-inch voice coil. They're plastic boxes. They're going to be a step below the RS line, which you guys have in stock. So that's coming.
All right, we'll keep
January. We'll be
okay.
rocking.
Well, you just know that if it's EAW and it makes sense for our customers, we will have them. So
there's also one more thing, Brad, I wanted to talk
Sure.
about real quick. Shure also came out just within the past month and a half or so with the new MV X2U. So I don't know if you guys can put it on me right there. This guy. Now, some people say, well, what is this guy? Well, we do a lot of like interfacing now with our Motive line. And essentially, you're going to take this guy. And if you're familiar with the MV88 Plus, essentially, if you look at the back of this guy, it's got the headphone jack. It's got the USB. Plug it into your regular microphone, and you can go right into your computer, and you can podcast, record.
Okay, so question about that.
Yep.
With the MV, you have to use the Motive app. Do you have to use a Motive app with that?
So not necessarily you have to use the Motive app. You can open it up, activate it on your device. So like, for example, I do a thing on Friday nights.
He does a really, and go check it out. He does a Fresh Crack Fridays bourbon opening podcast. It's
not
fun.
about
I watch
me,
them. I watch them. They're entertaining.
Yeah, we do it on Fresh Crack Friday on YouTube. Like, subscribe. Anyways, but I use the MV88 Plus on that, right? And it's essentially this same guy, but with the microphone built on the end of it. So, and I use the Film Mic Pro. You can use the Motive Video app if you want to, but I use the Film Mic Pro app just because that film.
But is it not live?
No, I don't do live.
Okay, so here's something that is application, and I'm putting them on the spot now.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so we get primarily churches, but sometimes a school that'll come in, and what they want is they don't want a laptop. They just want to live stream their program.
Well, you can live stream with this. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you use an MV88, it does not let you do that.
The mic,
because you have to use it with the Motive app, which doesn't have a live streaming feature.
No, you don't have to. So the film app that I use is not a Motive app. And I record straight to that. Maybe we need to test that theory, but I'm pretty sure you can record live. Just go into Facebook, and it'll utilize that. It's essentially like plugging a microphone into your laptop.
Sure. Because we've tested it, and we found that what people want is they want the MV to effectively replace the microphone that's built into your iPhone. And it does not. It only works when you go into the Motive app. So when you just plug in and go to Facebook, it's just using the no?
No.
Because, we've tested it. So was it a setting that you've got to go into preferences or something?
I've used that other app
Film Pro
for
app?
every one of my
So now Film
Fresh
Pro
Crack
app or
Fridays.
whatever, does it live stream from it?
I don't live stream, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't do
so
the
what
live
I'm
stream
talking about is
aspect. I get it.
Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't change the internal microphone.
I
when
will
you do
test that, and I will get back to you and let you know.
Yeah, because we've tested it and it doesn't do it.
Okay.
And unless there's some setting we have to get into, but yeah, we were sold way more of those, and the people who did buy them and then found out later that hey, it still sounds like crap. I'm
Understood.
like, well, so I didn't know if that one did do that. If it basically when
We're
you
going
plugged
to
it in.
find out.
Okay,
But I'm going to tell you.
We'll get back to you on that one.
But for $129, a small little audio interface.
Yeah, cool.
For your microphone, you can't beat it. Definitely.
Yeah, so you just plug in that into your computer, and boom, now you've got a live stream studio or a way to get a regular mic that you've already got, probably, into your computer.
Exactly.
But guys, hey, I want to thank you again so much, and I want to especially thank Chad with HW Pico.
No, thank you for having me on.
For coming on out, and of course, Shure Microphones is sponsoring our show and making killer products. But definitely come back and see us about the CQ mixer line. If we can help with anything audio, we are the only indie full line shop that sells this stuff in our area. So, hey, don't be shy. You come on out and see us. So we'll see you next time. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Now the dude's so funky, hey, what do you think? What is it called? It's called a lakeside stank.
Yeah, that was